and this is my review for Transformers Dark of the Moon Deluxe Class Ratchet. First off, I am on vacation, so that's why the background is different. But anyway, Ratchet, as you can see, is a Hummer H2, like always. For some bizarre reason, in Transformers Dark of the Moon, they gave Ratchet a totally different color scheme than he had in the first two movies. Whereas in the first two movies, he had a predominantly yellow color scheme, which I personally was a pretty big fan of. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I was personally a big fan of it. But in Dark of the Moon, for some bizarre and unexplained reason, they decided to make him this neon green and white color. I'm not really sure why they did that, and personally I don't really like this color scheme. That overall is the biggest complaint I have about this figure, and it's not really the figure's fault, but it still is, in my opinion, a very ugly color scheme, but so be it. I'm sure there are fans of it, I'm just not one of them. But anyway, very, very cool vehicle mode. I'm a lot more accurate than the previous Deluxe Ratchet's vehicle mode to the actual Hummer H2. Very cool. Very little undercarriage junk, which is nice, whereas the Revenge of the Fallen Ratchet had a ton of undercarriage junk. This guy has almost none. He does roll fairly well, which is nice. They didn't paint the rims, which, you know, always ticks me off that Hasbro doesn't do that, but I'll probably end up painting them anyway. But anyway, like I said, does roll fairly well. He does have some very, very nice paint apps. Really, really cool. He does have an Autobot symbol right here. It says Search and Rescue and Fire Department. Has a little emergency detail right there. He does have E4 written right here, fire rescue, and he's got some molded in shovels and other rescue equipment molded into the side of him, which is pretty cool. He does also have the back tire that he does in all the movies, which can double as a MechTech port, which I'll show off in a minute. It does have some very nice detailing on it. Very nice paint apps here on the back. I really, really like this kind of silver blue color that they used on the back windows. It does match the translucent plastic up front pretty well, which is also nice. I should mention that the white paint apps are a little bit sloppy. They're not as bad as on my Dark of the Moon Deluxe Roadbuster, but they are still a little bit sloppy, which is a bit of a complaint. It does seem to be an issue with a lot of the figures that have white paint these days, but that is something to be aware of. So definitely do check closely on your Ratchets before you purchase one if paint app issues bother you. But anyway, he does also come with a MechTech weapon, just like with any other Dark of the Moon figure. And I have to say, personally, this is my favorite MechTech weapon, just barely beating out the sword blade that Dark of the Moon Sideswipe had, because I really do like that sword blade, but I just really, really love this MechTech weapon. I think it's really, really cool. As you can see, it's a gun, which does have some very nice detailing on it. It does have this circular bit right here. The reason for that is, when you pull on this gray lever, this saw actually flips out, which I think is kind of neat. And what's really neat is, they didn't have to do this. There actually is some gear notches in the inside of the gun, and then there's a gear right here on this side of the saw. So when you flick it out, it actually does make the saw blade spin as you flick it out, and it does have some very nice detailing on the saw. It actually spins a little bit more freely than it is on this video. I'm guessing that since I am in a warmer climate, it is causing the plastic to behave a little bit differently than it would at my normal reviewing station, but it does spin a little bit more freely than it is on this video, so don't be scared. It does actually spin very, very freely. But anyway, I also should point out, this thing actually does work pretty well on Hunt for the Decepticons leader Starscream as an impromptu saw for him. I know that third-party kit is coming out that'll give him a screen-accurate saw, but if you don't mind having the saw blade being a little bit screen-inaccurate, this gun actually does fit on the pegs on leader Starscream's hand, so that is pretty cool. So you can use that as a weapon for leader Starscream if you want. But anyway, like I said, he does have MechTech ports up here on this wheel. He actually has two pegs on the gun itself. There's one right here, and then there's one on the bottom of it. Personally, I like to use the bottom one because I think it looks a little bit better, but it is all up to personal preference. It is pretty cool. Also, as part of transformation, when you flip these panels out, he does have MechTech weapons on the side, so if you wanted to get a bunch of them, I guess you could make a kind of stealth force mode for Ratchet, which is kind of neat. Anyway, that's about it with vehicle mode. To transform, you want to go and flip these panels back. Then you want to go back here. You want to raise this piece up, like so. Fold it up. Then what you want to do is you want to take these wheels. You want to you want to kind of wiggle them so that they get free of this rubber piece up here, and it can be a little bit hard to do. I wish that they had made this a little bit easier to do, but once you do it, they do come right off the side of the vehicle mode like so, and then bring these forward like so. Then we want to do is you want to take this white piece, you want to rotate it around, which is pretty cool. It is a little bit screen accurate to the actual CGI Ratchet's transformation scheme. It's not as accurate as the Revenge of the Fallen Ratchet, but it still is a neat little bit that they did throw in to be a little bit more CG accurate, which I think is nice. But anyway, then with his legs, you want to split them, then you want to rotate them around, then flip down his foot and rotate it around. He does have ball-jointed ankles, so he can get some pretty expressive poses out of his legs just due to those ball-jointed ankles. They're not as free as the Revenge of the Fallen Ratchet's ball-jointed feet, but you still can get some pretty neat poses out of this guy, which is pretty neat. But anyway, then what you want to do is you want to go up here. You want to bring this front bumper piece down about halfway. You don't want to flip it down all the way. You only want to bring it down about halfway. Then you want to bring this piece down to fill in his abdomen. He does have a little bit of a gap right here, which you can kind of see, but personally, this piece usually covers it up, and it usually doesn't bother me too terribly much, but that is something to be aware of for those who care about such things. But anyway, then you want to bring these pieces forward, rotate this up, and then use this panel to latch that backpack piece in place. Then what you want to do is you want to flip these down like so, rotate these arm pieces back like so, flip this down, and then flip it forward. And what I usually like to do is I usually like to bend it back all the way. You can, if you want, leave it forward like this, but I personally think that looks a little bit awkward proportion-wise, so I usually like to rotate the shoulders back to be a little bit more proportional with his body, but it is all up to personal preference. That's just what I usually do, and this is what I'll be showing off in the review. But anyway, do the same on this side. I'll rotate the arm down, flip the panel back, and then rotate it all the way back. And there you have Ratchet in robot mode. Very, very cool. I really, really like this guy's robot mode. Very, very screen accurate, which is nice. He does also have a very nice head sculpt. Very, very cool, very accurate to the Ratchet CGI head sculpt. For some bizarre reason, they gave him this collar piece right here, which I don't think is film accurate. I could be wrong on that point, but I don't think it's film accurate, so I don't know why they gave it to him. But oh well, it does look pretty nice regardless. He also does have some very nice light piping, which I'll show off using this little flashlight right here. As you can see, he does have some very, very nice light piping. It's this really, really nice kind of turquoise aquamarine color, which is just really, really neat. I really, really like the way that they did the light piping on this guy. It's really, really cool. I also do wish that they had given you the option to flip these wheels down, and I see why they didn't do it, because there is a mech tech port, so you can plug the gun in to his shoulder if you want him to have a shoulder gun. But personally, I would have at least liked the option to at least have the option to fold them down. So that is a bit of a complaint. I also this backpack does stick out a bit. It's not as bad in person as it is on the video, but it does stick out quite a bit. And I personally think that's the biggest flaw with robot mode, but oh well. Very nice posability. His head does rotate left and right. It can't go up and down any, just due to the way that it's sculpted with this collar piece, which is a bit of a shame. I would have liked it if they had added a joint here, but oh well, what are you going to do? He does have ball-jointed shoulders, and a bunch of hinges in his shoulders, as I've showed off. So he does have very posable shoulders. He does bend at the bicep. He does rotate at the bicep. He also does have an elbow joint, and for whatever reason, his wrists can go in and out. I'm not really sure why they did that, but you can, if you want, bend his wrists in a little bit. No waist swivel, which is a bit of a shame, but oh well. Ball-jointed hips. He does also have a mid-thigh swivel, which is nice. He does have two joints at the knee, and I know a lot of people were complaining that it didn't look like he can't stand up straight, and it isn't true. He can actually stand up straight, but just due to the way that the leg pieces are molded, it does always look like he's bending at a slight angle on his knees. So that is something to be aware of. Personally, it doesn't bother me. me, but I can understand why it would bother some people. But that is something to be aware of, is that he always is going to look slightly hunched over, which I think they could have done a little bit better. Again, personally, it doesn't bother me, but oh well. And like I say, he does have ball-jointed feet, as well as a pivot right here in his ankles, so you can get some very nice poses out of his feet. You can also, if you want, give him his mech tech weapon. You can plug it in right here. You can plug it in right here. You can also plug it in down here if you want, and again, he does have a shoulder mounted mech tech points, so you can use that if you want. And like I said, personally, I like to use this piece, or this peg on the bottom for him to hold it, but you can also use that peg. He also is capable of holding it with two hands. It can be a little bit difficult, so I'm not going to show it off on this video, but it is possible to get him to hold the gun with both hands, which I think is kind of neat. But anyway, for some quick size comparisons, I don't have a whole lot to compare him to, but I do have, for a standard size comparison, Revenge of the Fallen Bumblebee. So you can see, he's about an average deluxe size, just a little bit shorter at the head than Bumblebee, which, you know, is the case with a lot of the Dark of the Moon figures. They all are shorter than the average deluxe, but still, pretty nice size. Also, here he is next to Revenge of the Fallen Ratchet. And like I said, there are always going to be some things that I prefer about the Revenge of the Fallen Ratchet over this guy. As much as I do like the MegTech weapon, I think I personally prefer Revenge of the Fallen Ratchet's gun a little bit more. I also do like the color scheme a lot better, as I mentioned. I wish that they had done his legs a little bit more like they did the Revenge of the Fallen Ratchet, but that may not have been possible in order to obtain a screen-accurate vehicle mode, but still, I think I would have liked that a little bit better if they had done it more like Revenge of the Fallen Ratchet's legs. But, oh well, overall, I do still think I prefer this figure overall, but it's all up to personal preference. Personally, I prefer this guy, but like I said, it is all up to personal preference. But anyway, so there you go, my look at Transformers Dark of the Moon Deluxe Class Ratchet. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.